which clearly existed and which we know continues to this day. Not to say that we haven't seen progress, but I think your listeners know beyond question that there is so much more to be done. And on the front of equal opportunity, it is clear the racial wealth gap between African Americans and white Americans is the yardstick, in my view, that should be used to evaluate whether equal opportunity has been significantly achieved. Today, the racial wealth gap is fivefold. You know, the white population has a factor of resources 5 times that of African Americans, and really, in specific terms, much more important than that, because it connotes what we know to exist, a fact that equal opportunity is not there. So we see the attack on the infrastructure of equal opportunity, his dismissal, for example, of the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which was established in 1965. We are now celebrating, if I'm not mistaken, its 60th anniversary this year. And yet he has now undone that because it's been an effective, not perfect, but an effective monitor of societal discrimination here in the United States, offering remedies to those who have been victimized. No other federal agency has that responsibility. So by firing key commissioners, he has in fact disabled the EEOC from having any impact. And then secondly, he has attacked the National Labor Relations Board. He has fired Gwen Wilcox, who was the first African-American woman to chair the board. And by creating a vacancy because of her dismissal, he has disarmed the NLRB, as it's known, from being able to address issues of equal opportunity, particularly for unions who are trying to establish a viable union in industries that are currently not unionized.
Wade, when we come forward, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. One of the great civil rights leaders of our time, Wade Henderson, is our guest. When we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest.
These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Has ever been brighter. What I can share with you is that Wade is a good friend. He's very well known on Capitol Hill, and he's laying out what is clearly a shockingly awful effort by Donald John Trump to overwhelm the constituency and to overwhelm the minds of the American people, leaving them somewhat confused about what to do next. With that said, Wade, there was panic across the entire civil rights community when Donald Trump froze federal funding and denied the payments of loans and grants. I received calls from historically African American serving medical institutions talking about furloughs, other organizations, including civil rights organizations that have programs that come through the government, have also raised questions about the future of furloughs on their staffs. Your thoughts, Wade?
Jesse, you've described it beautifully. This is absolutely horrendously awful and something that has dismayed and shocked many of the people in the country, including many members of the civil rights community. But having said that, this is not and should not have been entirely a surprise. As I mentioned earlier, he told you what he was going to do, and to a degree, he is fulfilling those commitments. Now, having said that, the suspension of funding to institutions that receive federal funds has a breadth and scope far beyond what most people consider. Virtually every program that we rely on, from Medicaid to hospital services and education assistance and assistance to historically Black colleges and universities and small business community overall, are all touched by the executive order suspending funding. Now, as you know, today there was a clarification issued, but it's not clear that the clarification really resolves the problem, because the White House press secretary suggested that the order had been reconsidered but not rescinded. And I'm not entirely sure, Jesse, what that means. So there are many questions outstanding about the scope and reach of that proposal. And it is indeed devastating if it were allowed to go into effect as initially proposed. Now, tomorrow, you're going to have on your show the great Mark Morial, president of the National Urban League. And Mark is really helping to lead the charge of national civil rights organizations in response to this attack on equal opportunity. And I'm sure he'll have more to say about the suspension of loans, grants, and funding to many institutions that we rely on. But having said that, it has a devastating consequence. It's also, though, Jesse, intended to produce exactly the result that we're experiencing. He wants people to be shocked and awed by his proposal. He wants people concentrating on how to renew the sustenance they rely upon, because that, of course, allows him broad cover to do what he wants in other areas, where he may or may not want to have those issues reviewed by the public at large. So expect to see and hear other proposals that had not been contemplated. As I said, the effort to dismantle the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or to render it largely ineffective by removing key personnel. The same with the National Labor Relations Board. You can anticipate that. You can anticipate attacks on the Small Business Administration, attacks on minority business that rely on federal dollars. We've already seen some of that by the elimination of the President Johnson executive order. But you're also likely to see more significant effects. So the 8A program, the program that under which many minority businesses have received funding to establish themselves, is likely to be under severe attack. So we're going to have to rally around our minority businesses, our Black businesses. We're going to have to be prepared to be vocal in response to these attacks, and we're going to have to be strategic in how we respond. Now, the national civil rights community is making an effort. Organizations like the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund, Thurgood Marshall Law Firm, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, the organization that was established by President Kennedy in 1963, the National Urban League, and of course the NAACP are playing a very significant role in organizing and responding to what we're seeing. And it has to be addressed, Jesse, on two levels, at least two levels. Obviously, there is a federal response, and you expect national organizations to respond to these attacks at the federal level. But truthfully, there is very little that can be done. Congress is not going to, as a general matter, respond to these challenges aggressively. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I'm sorry. Notwithstanding the fact that congressional edicts, laws, are being overturned and ignored. They're not likely to respond with any force and effect. Trump has the Republican Party virtually under his thumb, and Democrats have insufficient votes. Excuse me again, Jesse.
Bless you. Bless you.
So sorry, my apologies.
Bless you.
But as I would say, we'll have to look at several levels simultaneously. Another level, of course, is the state and local level. Many of the issues that we're dealing with today ultimately will be addressed at the state level. And that includes how equal opportunity programs are carried out by the state, immigration, which we haven't talked about, which I'd like to spend a minute touching on,
please,
is likely to be an issue that is at least experienced at the state and local level. And we're going to have to be thoughtful about how we respond. And here's an example. There are roughly between 4 and 5 million potentially eligible voters who are currently not casting ballots because they have been convicted of felonies and in one way or another are being stymied in their ability to register and cast a vote in at least 13 states. Those individuals, men and women, are the backbone of our communities in many respects. You know, President Biden commuted the sentence or pardoned about 1,500 of these individuals at the end of his administration, which is extremely noteworthy and needs to be recognized as a significant and historic new development. Deserves a lot of credit for having done that. But if these individuals can't vote, if they can't have an impact on the shaping the policies that affect their lives, then their release from prison and the pardon is only a part of the ultimate redemption that they deserve. And so we've got to be thoughtful about how we bring them into the fold.
And wait, I want to comment on that. Wait, I want to comment on that, and let me give you a chance to have to get a little glass of water.
Thank you.
While we reflect upon this thinking here. Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 to 1,600 insurrectionists. He gave them full pardons. They can vote. Joe Biden pardoned approximately 39 people. With that pardon, they can vote, but he commuted the sentence of 1,500 people. The 1,500 people that he commuted were not pardoned, and therefore they are felons, and therefore they may or may not be able to vote.
Yes.
And I wrote this morning in terms of Democratic Party's lack of imagination, lack of creativity, lack of redemption, and lack of restoration. When you think about, with one signature, Abraham Lincoln emancipated millions of people. And then you think about Andrew Johnson, President Lincoln's successor, pardoning the entire Confederacy and restoring their rights, and pardoning slaveholders, every single one of them, for owning slaves with a single stroke of his pen. And you think about Donald Trump pardoning 1,600 people with one signature on day one and restoring their rights. And you think about the 70 million debt-paid felons in the United States, many of whom have paid their debt to society. And Joe Biden, on his way out the door, left them in felonization while he pardoned his family and kept it moving. That's the best example that I can give you of the lack of creativity and imagination. If before the election in November, Joe Biden had taken the redemption and the forgiveness of millions of American people who, with one signature, who paid their debt to society, had been restored their civil rights, the full measure of their American citizenship, who made a mistake in their lives but were not restored, we wouldn't even be discussing the first week or the first 100 days of Donald Trump. So while Joe Biden was so busy looking out for a committee in Congress that already is pardoned, they have a free speech and debate clause that is a pardon for everybody in Congress. Say what you want in Congress, as long as it's an official act. Do what you want to do in Congress, as long as it's an official act. You already have a pardon. It's in the Constitution. So Liz Cheney doesn't need a pardon. Benny Thompson doesn't need a pardon. The people who need pardons were in Pennsylvania. They were in Ohio. They were in Michigan. They were in Wisconsin. They're here in Chicago. They're in the state of Illinois. They're in Texas. There are people who, just as Donald Trump had a COVID check with his signature on it, and you had black men in barbershops saying, it's the first time I ever got a check from the president of the United States with his signature on it. Imagine millions of people who would have been able to show their families a pardon with Joe Biden's name on it, saying, we are restoring you to your full citizenship rights. I'm not talking about letting violent people out of prison. I'm talking about doing for everybody's son and daughter what you did for your own. Now, that lack of creative imagination within the Democratic Party is deeply troubling to me. And I don't think, quite frankly, that the civil rights community, and I say this with respect because, Wade, you know I have nothing but love for you. I mean, I think we're always asking for the wrong thing here. We're always asking for, give a brother a second chance, give a sister a second chance. And these people need a pardon, man. As soon as they walked out of prison, and Hunter Biden never even walked into a prison. Joe Biden's brother never walked into his prison. His children never walked into a prison. It seems it's only fair that he should have treated us the way he treated his own family. He left us in felonization, and I'm afraid the Democratic Party is going to get exactly what it deserves for that. Wade, I've got about 2 minutes. I've got about a minute and 30 seconds before the break, and I'm going to give you a minute and 30 seconds to respond.
Jesse, it was a brilliant observation. And once again, you put your finger on an essential truth that deserves brighter light. So, no, I can't disagree with you on any of the observations that you've offered. What I will say is that creating the solution to the problem that you've identified in the short term may mean going through President Trump. The chances of doing that, of course, are very slim. So I don't disagree.
Well, here's the danger, Wade. Here's the danger. And I know that we're going to be coming forward in just a moment. Here's the danger. The danger is in every Democratic household, there's a picture of John F. Kennedy. There's a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. There's a picture of Bobby Kennedy. And the danger, of course, is that there's going to be a document in every one of these households with a signature, Donald John Trump, because I pardon you. And those African Americans and working class Americans are going to be able to say, well, now I owe that guy right there my second life. And I can't wait for Joe Biden or whoever else they're putting up next. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Wade Henderson when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know with BIN News. The Federal Reserve is leaving interest rates unchanged. It comes after the Fed cut rates 3 times last year. It also marks the first policy decision during President Trump's second term. Trump has said recently he would like to see the central bank lower rates. As federal raids continue, Black St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones is reaffirming the city's support for immigrants. However, Trump's orders have blocked many from settling there, per the Post-Dispatch. Lakeville Public Schools in Minnesota will remove 2 DEI posters referencing Black Lives Matter after a 4-3 vote. A lawsuit led to their removal following a heated school board meeting. Supporters say the posters promoted inclusivity, while opponents called them politically charged. And Louisiana lawmakers are urging the NFL to ensure a family-friendly big game halftime show, citing past concerns over lyrics and performances. Kendrick Lamar will headline on February 9th as Kansas City faces Philadelphia. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Need better hot water? Water Heaters Only makes replacing your water heater easy. With one call and great pricing, Water Heaters Only can have you back in hot water the same day, within hours of your call. Visit waterheatersonly.com. That's waterheatersonly.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers will be without Anthony Davis for at least a week. An MRI exam Wednesday morning revealed AD has a strained abdominal muscle. He suffered the injury in the first quarter of the Lakers' loss Tuesday night at Philadelphia. AD will miss the next 3 games. During the Lakers' recent 4-game winning streak, AD was averaging 32 points, 15 rebounds, and shooting 58%. More troubling news for the Lakers. Head coach J.J. Redick drew criticism for playing Bronny James Tuesday night in Philly. Bronny's performance reinforced opinions that LeBron's son is not yet ready for NBA competition. In 15 minutes against the Sixers, Bronny missed all 5 of his shots and committed 3 turnovers. In 13 games with the Lakers, Bronny is shooting 1 for 16 and 0 for 7 on 3-pointers. The Lakers need to keep Bronny in the G League the rest of the season. He will not get any better sitting on the Lakers bench. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You say you never give in to a meltdown and never fill your feed with kid photos. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it and never let them run wild through the grocery store. So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock, Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? HIMS can help. Get started at hims.com/joy. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy.
Yeah, yo, come on. Pick up the drum.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chucky. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Wade Henderson currently serves as the Senior Advisor for the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights and Human Rights and the Leadership Conference Education Fund, organizations that he previously led for more than 20 years. Wade, welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Honored to be here.
Wade, I want to hang around these politics for a minute because one of the reasons I wanted Mark Morial on our program today, but he will be on tomorrow, the president of the National Urban League. Yesterday, we had Patrice Willoughby, the legislative core affairs representative of the National Association for the NAACP, and I'm hoping the president, Derek Johnson, will join us at some point in time in the not too distant future. Al Sharpton is expected to join us sometime either Thursday or Friday, because I want to see how the civil rights organizations are lining up in terms of the assault that our community is under. And as you know, that assault, by definition, may have been championed by African Americans growing out of Jim Crow and growing out of the peculiar institution of slavery before first Reconstruction and Jim Crow from 1896 to 1954. There seems to be, all of these other groups that have obviously benefited from our improvements to America. I mean, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, while we may have fought for it and Rosa Parks may have paid a heavy price for it, and clearly Emmett Till lost his life for it, and clearly Dr. King sets the stage for it in 1963 with the I Have a Dream speech. The reality is it's also responsible for the American with Disabilities Act. It's also responsible for the progress that the LGBTQ community has made. It is also responsible for broadening the definition of the civil rights, even of immigrants and migrants in the United States. It all comes from that struggle. But it seems to me that the re-engagement of voters will only occur when we have tangible deliverables that Democrats provide for our base. And those tangible deliverables are not just big policy initiatives. They're real things that people can hang their hats on. Wade?
Jesse, I think, again, you speak an essential truth. I mean, this has been the most difficult period that we have faced in the last 60 years. Elections have consequence, and we are now seeing those consequences being implemented. Now, let me say at the outset, as I did earlier, that, again, it's not as if Trump didn't warn the public about what he intended to do. He did. And yet he got a slightly higher number of black male voters this time. He received an increase in Latino voters this time. The consequences that our respective communities are experiencing were foretold by his previous actions. And there is a lesson to be learned from this, and we should have an opportunity to discuss it at some future point. Now, the important... Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I thought you had finished your thought.
I was just going to say, now the important issue is, how do we respond, Jesse? How do we respond? And yes, you talked about the responsibility of the Democratic Party, but black people are going to have to figure out how we position ourselves within the body politic. Yes, the Democratic Party has its greatest appeal for us as a base, and we have responded. Black men, yes, but black women in particular have been extraordinary in their level of support for Democratic candidates. By the way, Vice President Harris ran an absolutely extraordinary campaign. And certainly if the public were evaluating by any standard of fairness her qualification to be president in comparison to, and this is an objective view on my part, not everyone would agree, but with President Trump, I think hands down, Kamala Harris demonstrated her broad understanding and knowledge of the consequences and challenges of the presidency.
Here it is, Wade. Here it is, Wade, by the numbers. Here it is by the numbers. White men for Harris, 39%. White men, 59% for Trump. White women, 47% for Harris. 52% for Trump. Black men, 78% for Harris. 20% for Trump. Black women, 92% for Harris. The number of black women supporting Trump, almost negligible. Hispanic and Latino men for Harris, 44%. 54% for Donald Trump. Hispanic and Latino women, 61% for Harris. 37% for Trump. So there is no doubt that Kamala Harris ran a campaign that was inclusive, that was broad. And even this talk about the possibility of her losing black men in the campaign, it simply didn't happen. And black women clearly led the way in this campaign. But who's feeling it? Who's feeling it? The Latino men and women and the Hispanic Latino women who voted for Donald Trump and are now experiencing, and I think this is an important segue for you, are now experiencing unprecedented federal assault on cities, rounding up Hispanic and Latino men and women, some of whom are illegal, and others of whom are experiencing a profound racial profiling. Wade, your thoughts?
Well, there's no question about that, Jesse. I mean, the president's emphasis on mass deportation will have consequences that go far beyond the undocumented or so-called illegal migrant population. It will have a broad impact on the cities in which it occurs and on a variety of communities. Yes, the Latino community will be affected, but so will the African American community. We will experience some of the problems associated with racial profiling and detention without consideration of our circumstances. That is the nature of what is being proposed. Its impact will be broad and far-reaching. Now, there is an historic footnote, Jesse, that should be noted, because this is not the first time our country has had a mass deportation. And as recently as 1954, the federal government conducted a program of mass deportation, and guess what its name was? Its name at the time was Operation Wetback.
Wow.
Operation Wetback. And it was organized by under the auspice of President Dwight Eisenhower. It was intended to deport workers who had overstayed their visas, both because they had come into the country during World War II to provide, to address the labor shortage brought about by the draft and men fighting overseas. But this was something that had a broad impact, and not just the undocumented, but U.S. citizens were also affected and in some instances deported. We are likely to see that in the coming days and months ahead. You've already seen it. This last week has ramped up a high intensity of arrests, and the president has announced that so-called safe areas like churches and schools will no longer be respected, and that immigration detention will occur at those facilities as well. So, again, I'm sympathetic to communities to be affected by that. I'm deeply concerned. I'm more than sympathetic. Again, I'm dismayed by what is being proposed. But having said that, we're going to have to figure out a response, and it's not a response enough to suggest that, organizations at the local level are going to resist the pressure from the Immigration Enforcement Service. We're going to have to be organized in response to this. It's going to be a significant challenge, and I hope our communities will avail themselves of it and prepare.
Our guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show is none other than Wade Henderson, Senior Advisor for the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. Wade Henderson previously led the organization for 20 years. When we come forward, we'll be with Wade Henderson.
In traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You carry a lot. The needs of your family and friends, the responsibilities of work and home, and that doesn't stop when your period starts. New Always Ultra Thin pads are designed to keep up with your busy life. When an unexpected gush hits, you need to trust that your pad has your back and your flow. With new and improved rapid dry technology, Always Ultra Thin now absorbs 3 times faster than the leading size 2 store brand pad, so you can feel cleaner, drier, and fresher. Always Ultra Thin, always gush ready.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good. All 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live. Must start and file in app by 2/18.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now since I'm here at your place, let's take a trip or two. And we don't have to go too far, just as long as I'm with you. Let me tell me.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. That's Tony. It never rains in Southern California, but it needs to. No doubt about that. My special guest is Wade Henderson. Wade Henderson headed an organization that was really the focal point of nearly 200 civil rights organizations around the country, and he presently serves as a senior advisor to that organization. I just wanted to add, Wade, and get your thinking on this, because as we have these leaders from the NAACP, the Urban League, the National Action Network, and other organizations on our program, particularly this week, I know that the National Urban League issues an annual report on the state of Black America. The National Action Network issues a similar report on the state of Black America. The NAACP issues a annual statement on the future of the Negro in America. What's everyone's report going to say next year?
Okay. Jesse, let me answer that question because it's one of the most serious that we'll consider today. But let me also put a footnote on the Haitian immigrant community in the United States, which we didn't talk about during our segment on immigration. If you promise to come back to that with me, I'll be happy to answer your question now.
You have my promise.
We can then, okay, fantastic. So look, the reports that the National Urban League has issued, particularly under Mark Morial's tenure for the last decade, the reports of the National Action Network and Reverend Sharpton and his organization, which plays such an important role at the grassroots level, and of course the NAACP, which traces its history back to 1909, when it responded to the riot in Springfield, Illinois, and riots that were taking place all across the country, threatening the security and vitality of African American communities nationwide. It was out of those ashes that the NAACP came into existence. Those reports have always been important, but they will be especially important this coming year, given what we are seeing. And I expect that they will include a level of analysis, a depth of review that goes beyond the superficial, that goes beyond the obvious impacts of these proposals and digs more deeply at what they will do in setting back the road to progress that is really the intent of this attack on equal opportunity through DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we anticipate that there's going to be a very significant analysis, because we will need that in order to structure an effective response. As I said, Jesse, some of that response will be at the national level, and we've got to be thoughtful about how that's done. And Mark and Reverend Sharpton and Derek from the NAACP, along with Janae Nelson at the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, Damon Hewitt at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and of course, Maya Wiley, current president of the Leadership Conference, will all help to fashion solutions to the problems that we're discussing today.
I'm also thinking, Wade, that and make the distinction for at least our listeners that the NAACP, the Urban League, and the National Action Network and other civil rights organizations, you mentioned specifically towards the end of your remarks, the legal defense funds. MALDEF, Maya Wiley, Barbara Arnwine, these organizations that are going to be battling in the courts throughout the nation, arguing for the 14th Amendment, arguing for equal protection under the laws, arguing for school lunch programs and meals on wheels for senior citizens. These organizations obviously have to be supported, because without a Congress to even be able to pass an amendment that we support, without a Senate being able to stop anything that the right wing in the Senate wants to support, and a president willing to sign whatever his 2025 agenda actually is that may come before his desk that passes both bodies, my thinking is we're going to be battling this out in the courts, and we need our best and brightest lawyers to join that part of our movement. Am I right?
Well, there's no question about that, Jesse, and you've identified several organizations that will help lead the charge. I would just add a couple more. The ACLU is going to be a significant voice on these issues in the courts. They have in the past, they will currently under the presidency of Anthony Romero. And the Brennan Center for Justice is an organization that litigates issues of equal opportunity and fairness. They're going to play a very significant role. Michael Wallman is its president. They do a phenomenal job. They'll be deeply engaged in these issues. And you mentioned organizations like the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Fund, groups like LULAC, the oldest Latino organization for civil rights in the country, the U.S. Unidos U.S., under Janet Murguia. These organizations are going to play a very important role, and it's important that they are strategic, that they share information, and that there be an overall game plan, an understanding of how their respective resources and emphasis will be organized to ensure that we are being most effective in responding to these challenges. So that's clearly got to be one of the goals that we help pursue from a national perspective. But as I said, Jesse, there's going to be a lot of effort undertaken at the state and local level. And we're going to have to keep an eye out on how governors respond to that. Certainly in the red states, we anticipate there's going to be an effort to implement President Trump's agenda at the state and local level. We're going to have to guard against that. We're going to have to respond to it. And I think those are some of the challenges. Yes, Jesse.
I want to let a clip play from Patrice Willoughby from the NAACP.
Sure.
Very quickly, and I committed to you that we are going to discuss the Haitian issue.
Good.
Some of what we've witnessed since Donald Trump has been inaugurated president of the United States, the 47th president, it must feel particularly personal to you that much of what you fought to advance is under direct attack. Your thoughts on this particular era that we find ourselves in?
Well, you know, understanding the history of this country makes these recent actions even more pointed. We have to understand that the goals of this administration are to create chaos and to discourage people from fighting back, because frankly, the administration is issuing executive orders that are illegal and unconstitutional. We've never seen a presidency or an administration act in this manner. It's outside of what's normal behavior. And it's not aligned with the direction of every administration, every executive branch in providing guidance, whether they're Democratic or Republican. There are certain rules of the road that everyone follow. And even when you disagree on policy, you don't disagree on the fact that there are norms of behavior. And so that's what makes it so pointed that they are attempting to unravel the civil rights gains through all types of means, whether they are actually real process or whether they're fake news.
Wade, it must feel particularly personal to you. We've got about 1 minute before the top of the hour. My special guest has been Wade Henderson. Wade, how personal is this?
Well, I think Patrice said it beautifully, and I could not possibly say it better. But the truth is, this is an attack on in the most fundamental way on progress that we have made in our country during the modern civil rights era, and especially over the last 60 years. As I said, we are celebrating the 60th anniversary this year of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the creation of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which was an outgrowth of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. To see these initiatives, these fundamental concepts of fairness and equal opportunity and voting rights and engaging people and allowing them to vote under the most fundamental attack is beyond disturbing. It is really, it's intended to have a devastating effect on the psyche of most African Americans, because the truth is the progress that we are experiencing today was built on the foundation of the changes that occurred with the Civil Rights Acts of the 1960s. And so, yes, it is personally deeply, deeply dismaying that we are experiencing these challenges today.
When we come forward, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., Wade Henderson and I are going to continue our conversation about Haitian and the immigration crisis.